Hello and welcome to your weekly roundup of all things electric from the team at electrifying.com. This week, ridiculous indicator sounds. Has the Land Rover finally made it to the party? And the perfect Christmas gift for any electric car driver. Welcome to the Kilowatt Half Hour. I'm Ginny Buckley.
I'm Nicola Hume.
I'm Mike Askew.
And I'm Tom Barnard and didn't get their memo about the Santa hats.
Quite frankly, Tom, I think you look ridiculous not wearing one.
I'm more than happy to take mine off just to kind of so you're not alone because it's itchy. I'm getting really itchy under there. So a festive edition. The only festive thing about it is the fact that we've all had too many mince pies and we're wearing, well, some of us are wearing Santa hats, but we thought because it is the festive edition, we'd treat you to 4 of us instead of the usual 3. So what have we all been doing? What's been going on? Should we kick off with something festive? Anything festive to tell us, anyone? Tom, anything festive?
Well, we put up a story today, which I think is the perfect gift for electric car drivers who are coming to visit you over Christmas, which is to offer them a charge. Because you have this kind of awkward situation, don't you, where you're going to go and drive and see your gran, and it might be that you can't get home again without stopping for a charge. And if you could just plug in there, it would save you the bother. So I think that if you kind of get around the awkwardness just by offering it, if you've got someone coming with an electric car, say, do you want to plug in? And it won't cost you as much as you think. So I reckon that if you're there for 8 hours on a 3-pin granny plug, it's going to cost about £4.50. And one of those little boxes of Ferrero Rocher costs £6, and you'd happily offer someone a few Ferrero Rocher. So just offer them an electric car charge, and I think it will get around that awkwardness. So that's my top tip. If you've got people coming and they've got an electric car, give them a plug. A socket instead of socks.
These definitely sockets instead of socks. I like that a lot. We've done this. We've talked about this before on the pod, haven't we? We've sort of said there is that really weird thing about, I think it was an Airbnb owner who would reckon she's, electric car drivers have sort of effectively stolen thousands of pounds worth of electricity from her over the years by charging their cars up. And it is when there were loads of really cheap tariffs around, kind of didn't matter as much, did it? But now, of course, electricity is so much more. It is a difficult one, isn't it? That whole kind of thing of, you'd never go and fill your car up from somebody's petrol pump if they had one at their home, would they? Which would be ridiculous. I know. But you know where I'm going with this, don't you? I don't know. Would you be offended by me coming to your house, Nicola, and charging my car up?
I mean, to be honest, I've had a couple of friends come around and visit where we've offered and we said, if you want to plug in your car, that's absolutely fine. We do have a home wall box anyway. So yeah, if you do come around, I'll let you plug in. But you will be buying the takeaway that night. I think that's the only fair way to do it.
It's
take a bottle of wine. Take a bottle of wine or something, or a box of chocolates, and it covers the price. Yeah.
We like that one. That's good. So what else has been going on? Anything caught your eye in the news, Ms. Hume, over the past week?
Oh, well, can I first of all say yesterday I experienced the famous Jeep Avenger indicator for the very
Did you like it? It's good, isn't it?
It's such a vibe. I feel like with every time I'm turning, I feel like I'm having a little rave up with every turn. It's like a
It basically beatboxes, doesn't it? It is really what it does, and it's as you say, it's very distinctive. It won the Jeep Avenger won our Urban Car of the Year for 2024. But I don't know. Have you awarded your indicator favorite indicator sound of the year yet, Nicola?
Well,
could this be a contender?
For me, the clear winner has always been the Polestar 2. However, the Jeep Avenger has come along, and I feel like it's a really, really tough call. But yeah, I think the Jeep Avenger has won it.
Yay!
We need to add that to the electrifying awards list for next year. Best. But because it's just every time you click in it, it's just so good. I'll tell you what I'll do. The video that I sent to our WhatsApp group, I'll post it on the Electrifying Instagram account so that you can hear it for yourself. Well, it's basically just a video of me sitting in the car, just completely vibing.
Which I think is exactly what I did with it when I first drove the car and filmed it. I did a first drive review with it, and it was literally like, oh my God, I think I sent it you. I was like, she's going to love the indicator. And then Manos, our lovely head of production, like became a human beatbox for me. So it's very fun.
So good. It's so good.
It's also a good car. I think it's a really good all-round car. And I think what Jeep is doing actually there brings us neatly into Land Rover, doesn't it? Because Land Rover this week have kind of finally shown what their electric future might look like. We're not allowed to call them Land Rover anymore, are we?
No.
Got to call them Range Rover, haven't we now? Is that right? What do we call them these days, Tom?
I think it's Range Rover. I think Land Rover's the umbrella brand, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes.
So confusing, isn't it? So Range Rover has finally got to the party. Well, kind of, because they haven't really shown us an electric car, but they've shown us a teaser. Like was it a picture of a wheel hub and a bit of green stuff and a charging port? Green lights?
The front grille, I think that was kind of it.
So yeah, I've got it up here. It is over on electrifying.com. If you didn't see the story, it's in the news, and they've literally shown like a charging port, and I think that's probably and then a sort of slight little bit of a rear tailgate, and that's all you've got. But I mean, it's good that they are finally getting with it, because you look at what other brands are doing, like Jeep with that reinvention with Avenger. Look at what Rivian are doing in the US. Whether Rivian's a viable business or not is, of course, another conversation. But there are other brands out there that are doing, really exciting things. Kia with the EV9. When I drove that for the first time, I thought that was a car that Land Rover should have made. So it is kind of nice to see that they're actually making some moves in that direction. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that car. I love Range Rovers. I just like being up high. I like the way you'll get home in a Range Rover. But of
do
course,
you?
Really? Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Do you? What if it doesn't have electrical problems? I think that is debatable.
That's the bravest statement ever.
I've never had one break down on me.
Wow. Well, let us know in the comments below if you or somebody you know has had a Land Rover, Range Rover, or any of those cars break down on you, because as a consumer journalist who's done quite a lot of stuff on reports for various TV programs over the years, there's been an awful lot about Land Rover breakdowns.
Yes,
awful lot.
I've never had one break down on me, and I've owned probably double figures. But I know what you mean. That they do have a reputation.
They do. I don't know, because we're not even going to see it until the end of 2024, and of course it's going to be super expensive. Not much news on it, other than it's going to have 800-volt architecture, so it will have obviously, But this, if you were telling me this 18 months ago, would have been like, oh, that's great. But now it's just like, well, of course it would have that. Why wouldn't it? It's just what you expect. Mm-hmm. So there is a part of me that worries that it is going to be too little, too late for them. I mean, I'm sure people will buy it, but I don't know. And how are they ever going to get around the weight as well? Because they're saying it's going to have full off-road capability. It's not going to have any limitations. Because I know that has been the big challenge that Land Rover has been struggling with getting an EV to market, has been getting the weight down. I don't know if any of you have heard that one.
Yeah, I have. I mean, the EV9, which I drove a couple of weeks ago, and the weight of that is 2,700 kilograms. So then you think it's a 7-seater, so you put 7 people in it, and I don't know, a kayak on the roof and a trailer and something, and suddenly you're getting quite close to the 3.5-ton limit where you'd have to have a special license.
Yeah.
So I know they've taken things off the EV9 to keep the weight down, like air suspension. So I don't know, if you've got a Range Rover and it has got air suspension, it's got all that. Well, how are they going to do it? I don't know. That's been very clever.
This is the challenge they've been grappling with, and I don't know about you because we haven't really talked much about the fact we've both driven the EV9 now, but I think it drives really well, and I do not think that is a car that feels that it's got as much weight as it has, because as you said, it is a heavy car, but I don't think you feel that way. They've been very clever in in how they've set that car up.
They have. It's a very refined car, and as you say, it's something that does feel quite Land Rover-y in how it drives, but it has steel springs, so you can't do things like pump up the suspension, and if you load it up, it will sink down at the back. And the other thing is that if you drive it fast, it feels more like a Discovery than a Range Rover Sport, if you know what I mean. So it starts to just kind of wallow about a little if you try and be a bit keen. But it's a 7-seater. You shouldn't really be doing that anyway. But it doesn't have that kind of all-round ability that you'd expect from a car which has clever suspension.
I think it's good for the job that it's for, though. You know, you're not buying that car to go very, very fast in. You're buying that car because you will probably have a big family and have lots of kids to carry around and their stuff. And for that kind of job, it's a really brilliant car, I think.
Yeah.
So, Mike, what have you been up to? What's caught your eye this week?
Well, I've been driving the Desco-Matic 3000 for the past week. I haven't had any exciting drives other than up to London, see you guys last week. One of the stories that caught my eye was actually happened last week. We didn't get a lot of pickup from various places, but Stellantis are running a trial scheme in Milan for swappable batteries. And you kind of thought that was maybe only NIO that were going to get involved in that, but Stellantis reckon they can build a battery swap hub in 3 days from scratch. And they're doing a fleet of 100 Fiat 500Es in Milan. It's going to be subscription base only. And it's to address the old kind of range anxiety thing, which, I don't know, it feels to me that's something that affects people who don't have electric cars. Maybe that's just a way of getting people in. I don't know. But I mean, we all get and drive them. And I don't know what you think, but I charged the Ioniq 5 up in 20 minutes last week, coming back from London from 10 to 80%. And I'm sure I'd have been waiting longer in a battery swap place. So, yeah, it doesn't really appeal to me. But I'd be interested to know from people who are thinking about switching whether that is a thing that they will be interested in.
Or does it just seem like a complete faff? And can I also take this moment to point out that Stellantis is also a company that think another good idea is to sell the Vauxhall Corsa for the same price as a Tesla Model 3. About. You know, they undoubtedly have some very good ideas. I'm personally not sure which basket this is going to fall into. So do let us know in the comments below. But yeah, going back to that question about range anxiety, I do think range anxiety is a thing that affects you when you haven't lived with electric for a while. Because I did Manchester and back in the day last week for a series of meetings that I had to do up there. And, you know, I'm sort of just outside London. It's a long old journey up there. Absolutely no hassle. It just wasn't a challenge at all. It was easy. I needed to stop, so I stopped near Manchester, literally used the loo, grabbed a coffee, and I used the Tesla superchargers that were opened, which are brilliant, which are incidentally at the Trafford Centre near Manchester, if anybody's heading up there. They are absolutely great. So use one of those, completely then fully charged, did what I needed to do in Manchester, and then drove home on a full charge. Easy.
Yeah. I think it's charger anxiety, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's what it is. It's not so much the range. It's the fact that sometimes when you pull up to a service station, you can't guarantee that they're going to be working or they'll be working at the speed that you want them to. But I have found, since being fully electric, since driving the GV60 every day, that I'm getting to, I'd say, pretty much every service station I've been to so far has worked and been very good. And there's been more than enough. I haven't had to queue because there's so many more chargers popping up. Mm-hmm. And they've all been working at speed. And by the time I've plugged in, gone in for a wee, grabbed a snack or whatever, come back out again, that's more than enough for me to carry on the journey. So I was that person that had the range anxiety. I was that person with the charger anxiety as well. But so far, it's been pretty good.
Right. So here's a question for the three of you on charging. So I was in a meeting having a conversation with somebody very senior who basically runs a large charging network, which is all I'm going to give you. Not going to say which one. Now, within their network are older units. So obviously the focus now is on newer units that are more highly powered, getting those in the right place. But some of these older units, they're often the ones that we have the issues with, right? Because they maybe, haven't been kept up the right way. In some places, they don't always own the land that the units are on because things might have been sold over the years. And the conversation was, should they, and they're considering, rip out all those older units, which of course will reduce the number of chargers that are out there. But by getting rid of some of those historic legacy chargers that are much slower, that are often in places that, you know, we talk about them stuck in the corner of a car park and, you know, there's nowhere to shelter from the elements, because that's just how a lot of the charging infrastructure sprung up. Is there a case to be made to just literally get rid of a lot of that infrastructure, that stuff that has been around for a long time now, even though it would reduce the overall number of chargers? So what do you all think? Yay or nay to that one?
You're talking about sort of DC 50 kilowatt chargers rather than the sort of 7 point.
We're talking about the DC 50s and then maybe even some of the slower ones, you know, some of maybe the 22s that just have been around for a long time.
Yeah, well, I think 22s still have a place. I mean, if you could replace one of those old clunky 50 kilowatt DCs with a 22 kilowatt ACs, I think, because they're like at restaurants and pubs and in those sorts of dark corners, it's fine if you just want to stay around for an hour and have a meal.
I think the argument is that they're often the ones that are, for whatever reason, the ones that don't get the love and the TLC, and they're often the ones that don't work. And they're the ones that are giving a lot of the time the network, the general charging network, the bad rap, because those are generally, you go and find the 50s, and I don't know about you, but invariably they're the ones that don't work. I don't know. I thought it was.
Well, I think AC chargers are much more reliable, aren't they? So they're much simpler they don't need as much maintenance. So perhaps that's the answer. Use those for 22 kilowatts rather than 150 kilowatt. And then you're doubling the amount of charge points. Okay, it takes twice as long to charge, but I think that's the future.
Yeah. Don't know. What would you do, Mike?
Well, I think you're right. And if we're talking about the image side of it, which I think we are as much as anything else, aren't we? Because in my local Sainsbury's, there's 6 pod point chargers that were all put in at the time the store was built, which was about 10 years ago. Not a single one of them works now. And they've all got a horrible piece of laminated plastic on it saying pod point, charging point not working on every single one of them. So if you walk past those every time you go for a shop, you're not going to buy an electric car because you think, none of these work, you know. So why would I even trust? And it is an image thing. You might as well just rip those out if you're not going to look after them. It's obviously some contract that's come to an end with Sainsbury's and Pod Point, and no one's bothered to kind of, you know, there's no SLA agreement on it, so they're just broken. So get rid of them because they just give a bad image. I mean, around the corner there's a new Audi and it's got twice the number, and they all work. So you know.
Yeah, that was my sort of thought, was just get rid of all those old legacy ones. And if you can't replace them with something that is more modern and up to date and works for whatever reason, you know, maybe the power outputs aren't the right output, maybe, I don't know, the land has ownership of the land has changed, just get rid of them all because they're a bad rap. I just want to get something out of the way, if I may. I want to clear something up that we should probably start the podcast with. We'll do it now. We have a video, Nicola, that went live a few days ago, and it's us testing the Tesla Model 3 and the BYD
I know where this is going.
Seal, which is doing
exactly what's coming.
Doing really well. Great numbers, really good comments on that. But I do just want to raise something that I'm just going to play this for you. Oh. I was going to play that for you. Let me just try this again, caller. Let me just play something for you.
This is such an interesting testicles.
I do not say, as much as it might sound like it, what I'm saying there is test to call.
It totally sounds like testicle. It really sounds like it does. And I can't blame anyone for commenting saying, you had me a testicle. It was so funny seeing the comments.
Testicle. My diction needs work. I think we can establish that my diction needs work.
I didn't even clock it, stood next to you, until I spotted the comments. And then I suddenly went, oh, yeah, it does. And now that's all I can hear.
The worst thing is that I signed the video off and didn't even notice it. Because in my mind, I was thinking, oh, yeah, interesting testicle. I know that's what I said. And then, oh, no, that's not what it sounded like. So just if you haven't seen it, please do feel free, head over there, watch it, give yourself a laugh. We're not doing a group test on testicles. We were doing a twin test. Oh, a twin test on testicles, sorry. We were doing a twin test, and we were talking about the fact that it was going to be a tough testicle. Testicle.
Tough what, sorry?
Testicle.
Right, okay, cool. Just
testicle.
Should we move on?
You dropped the ball there, Ginny.
Oh no! Is it time for the post bag? Did we have any comments on that in the post bag, Postman Mike?
It's a bit early for that, but I'm sure
We've
we
still
will
got
if we
one more.
point
We've
people.
still got one more story before we hit into the post bag.
I know. I did
Say-
just wonder if anybody had commented because
No, not yet.
on the
Save us,
video.
Save us, Nicola.
All right. I'll save you. Did you see? We have to say a very sad farewell to two legendary EVs. Well, one quirky legendary EV and one very legendary EV. We are saying goodbye to the Renault Zoe and we are saying goodbye to the Honda E. What are our thoughts and feelings on that? So they're saying, so the Zoe is, they're not taking orders anymore. They're going to stop from March 2024, and they're saying that it's basically going to be replaced by the Renault 5, but that's not coming for a long time yet. But the Zoe was legendary. When EVs first started coming about, the Zoe came along and everyone went, oh, great. And this lovely little car come along, cracking little thing. I really like the Zoe. It's going to be sad to see that go.
I'm not remotely sad to see either of them go, to be honest.
Oh,
I think-
Ginny.
Ginny.
I think we had a time and a place, and it needs to learn now that it's not of this time and place anymore. There is no doubt we owe the Zoe a great debt of thanks because it got lots of people into electric cars. I also think it confused the hell out of lots of people with that whole idea of, did you own the battery? Did you not own it? What did that mean? What happened when you sold it? So I think it created a whole area of uncertainty around electric car ownership that, quite frankly, we didn't need. And the Honda E, I mean, yes, it was cute, but it was also the most ridiculously overdone car.
Yeah.
It was it just tried too hard, and it also had the most unusable range.
Yeah.
So no, I'm not shedding a tear.
And so expensive. But what it means that Honda now just have the ENY1. That's
the Ernie, you mean?
the
Ernie.
Yeah.
The Ernie. We call it the Ernie.
All they've got is the Ernie now, which is a bit of a shame, isn't it? They need to up their game a bit.
But I think this opens a whole nother load of conversations, doesn't it? About, is there a future for Honda? Like, are we going to see, I talk a lot about the Kodaks of the car world. Honda, what are they doing? Is there a future for them? Are they going to be able to stay relevant and survive all the change that's coming? Anyway, that's another podcast. Are any of you sad? What about you, Nicola? Are you sad to see them go?
I'm not really sad to see the Zoe go. I mean, it's sad in terms of EVs as a collective. So it's like, end of an era kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I really like the Honda E. It was, yes, expensive, yes, stupid range. It was quirky. There was a random fish tank you could have in there. It felt like the Honda E, for me, always felt like it would feel at home if it had a cassette player. Like, they did the kind of retro thing really nicely. And it's the only car that I am happy to have wing cameras instead of wing mirrors. The only one. All of the others, I can't stand them, but I think they work in the Honda E. So they're the only brand, the only car that I think got that right. Apart from that, we'll be sad to see it go, I reckon. Yeah.
Okay. Mike, Tom, are you shedding a tear?
Yeah, I'm a little sad to see them go, to be honest with you, because anything that's kind of the entry level gets people into electric cars. If it removes that, there's two cars being removed from that. I know neither of them were particularly cheap, but from the point of view, there's on the used market, Zoe's are quite good value now. So I think maybe if it goes out of production, that will kind of lower used values for those, which will make them a little bit more accessible for people. And a lot of them are all battery bought now, and you can buy the battery from Renault, so it does make a lot more sense. But there's quite a gap from the Zoe going to the Renault 5 coming in. Is often, when manufacturers tend to change things, there's usually a crossover. One model will run out while a new one comes in, and there's quite a big gap. There's going to be sort of almost a year's gap between one ending and the other coming. I'm hugely excited about the Renault 5 coming. So obviously they're so confident about it. They think they can just, whatever they're making or not making on the Zoe is irrelevant. They're just going to concentrate on the 5, and that's going to be a rethinking of the brand, really. So yeah.
I think we're going to have an arm wrestle fight to decide who goes to get the first look at the 5.
Yeah,
because I know, like, put your hands up if you want to be the first to go and look at the 5. Mike?
Yeah.
We just all. It's just like it's one of those cars that is so exciting. You know, it's your double hand. Maybe we could all go. Can we just bring everyone? We'll drive there.
Yeah,
I think that's fair. We could do that.
just tell
Are
Jim
you,
we're all coming.
Are
Yeah.
you sad? Yeah. Are you sad to see them go, Tom?
Well, yeah, as regular listeners will know, we're looking at changing our beloved old Leaf. And so I've been looking at the second-hand market for electric cars and saying, right, well, this is about the right price. And you think, well, does this work? Does this work? And I looked at Honda E because I think it's a future classic. Personally, I know I've spent hours at a charger waiting for it to get charged up because it won't get home because it only does 90 miles when it's cold. But I still quite like it and it would almost work for us. But they hold their money. So, so like a Honda E will be, the cheapest I found was £18,000. And an equivalent Mini with the same age and mileage is like 12. And the Mazda MX-30 is 11.
Wow.
I mean, it's a real difference. I mean, of course, they're more expensive to buy at the end. They were like 38 grand, I think, for a Honda E. Yeah. But when it first came out, I think they were eligible for the grant. So they were sort of 26, 27, I think, from memory.
Wow.
So, yeah, I mean,
I'm just looking over I'm just looking over at electrifying.com, where, of course, you can peruse a whole host of many thousands of used electric cars. They're expensive, aren't they?
Yeah, you'd expect that cars of that age would now be 10, 12 grand, and they're not. The rivals are, Minis are, but no. Zoe's a tricky one. I mean, it got a bit of a bad reputation at the end, didn't it, for that NCAP thing? Oh, yeah. Because they took off an airbag without telling anyone, and NCAP crashed it. And was it 0 or 1 stars they gave it? And that Renault had a reputation for safety. Yeah. And you don't want to be putting your family in a car with 0 stars.
Yeah, it became only the 3rd car, I think, in NCAP's history to get a 0 rating. And if you do know what the other 2 are, let us know in the comments below. There's a Christmas Day quiz question for you all. There you go. Right, is it time for the Christmas post bag? Come on, Postman Mike. What have we had this week?
Should
we do the jingle?
No,
Ready?
No. Somebody complained about the jingle, so let's not do it.
Postman Mike, and his electric bike. No.
Yeah, that's fine. That's all good. It's a bulging post bag this week. It's been absolutely mad this week. It's been really good. So thank you so much for commenting. If you're wondering what we're talking about and you listen to this on a podcast app, on the bottom of our YouTube video of this podcast, we have a comment section. We encourage people to write in and complain or agree or do whatever you like. So first things first, Nicola, you owe Anthony Stevens a new keyboard. Do you want to know why?
Why? What did I do?
Well, your titter you not comment, this is his words, about the smart #3 and the fact that you have to press the A hole in the badge to access the rear. Very nearly wrecked his computer because he was drinking a mug of tea at the time. So you don't mind
Tom's
sending
here
a
now, so we can talk about it a little bit. That was Tom went to go and drive that, and he came back and we spoke to each other, and then we were talking about it, and I was like, "Oh, you should have put that in. You should have said it."
Kicking myself. I wish I'd have thought of it. Should we explain that?
We did last week.
Previous podcast that you have to press the center.
Yeah, we explained. It almost is better without the explanation. It is, I think.
If you don't know what we're talking about, listen to last week's. Yeah, that's all I'll say. On the subject of Nicola being correct, a few of these actually this week. Yes, Special Cirques says Nicola is correct. The hashtag is called £, in the US for weight and mass and on phones. Yeah. And Pottery for Life also said yes. Hashtag equals £, in the US. And on the same subject as the smart #1, which we spoke about because I'd driven it the week before, Eddie Blanchard says he's bought one. He was tossing up between the two. He was trying to work out whether he was going to have an EX30 or a smart #1. He chose the smart. He said, regarding the attention sensor on the #1, I've had mine for 6 months now, and it started off being really annoyed by it, as I did, but it's settled down. It rarely seems to go off now. It chose the smart #1 over an EX30 because it had a bit more room in it. And if it spec'd it up like for like, the EX30 would have been 4 grand more, 3 or 4 grand more. So that's why he chose that.
I was just going to say, I wonder if the sensor not going off as often now because it's settled down is just because you're now changing the way that you drive. You don't even realize you're doing it. You've changed the way that you drive. You changed the way that you look. You changed the way that you hold the steering wheel to stop the sensors from beeping. So now you might drive differently, which is why the sensors aren't going off.
Now, well, on the launch, they said that they were doing over-the-air updates to make things less irritating. So I think, I mean, this is an amazing technology.
That's probably it.
You don't even have to take it to a dealer now. It just, you wake up in the morning and it's less annoying.
Oh, okay.
Do you know if they've done an over-the-air update to get rid of the Fox?
No, Fox is still there.
And can you ask? Was it Edward? Who was that? Who was that lovely person? Was that?
Well, the last one, AD.
Mike?
AD.
Yeah.
AD.
Eddie.
Has it still got AD?
AD, sorry, AD. Okay, sorry, AD for calling you Eddie. AD, I would love to know if you're finding the Fox any less irritating, because the Fox really drives me mad. So comment again. Let us know. Have you learnt to love the Fox?
It's not on the #3, of course. The Fox.
It's not what? Sorry.
It's not on the #3.
Really?
It's a cheetah.
It's a cheetah.
Oh, God, cheetah.
Sits there licking its paws when it's not doing anything.
Should we move on now?
Yeah,
Sorry
let's move
about
on.
that.
Ginny, last week you asked our lovely listeners for game-changing ideas and stuff they think would make a difference to their lives with electric cars, and it's been great. We've had a lot of responses. Andrea Bellani has messaged us from Italy. Isn't the internet wonderful? All the way from Italy, he messaged us. So, ciao Andrea, grazie per ascoltando e per le tue parole gentile. Do you want to join in? No? Okay. He said,
Mike is the fluent Italian speaker on the team. What did you say?
I said, thank you for listening and for your kind words. So I didn't stitch you all up.
No.
Don't worry. That's fine. He said that the game changer for EV will be, which a few people have said, vehicle to grid and vehicle to house. He said in Italy you can't do it. It's illegal at the moment. But vehicle to house or vehicle to grid would be a huge difference. And the Flying Twiglet also comments on the same thing. I don't know what language the Flying Twiglet speaks. I assume it's only English. He says we need to get CCS vehicle to grid a standard ASAP. He's got some battery storage, but he's also got, like a lot of people have, I mean, I've got 100 kilowatt hours of storage sitting on the driveway, which isn't doing anything. I'd like to charge that up at night at a cheap rate and then run my house off it. But the technology doesn't exist yet. It always seems to be, it's around the corner, it's coming, it's soon. The cars are getting ready for it now. I know Volkswagen's done an awful lot of work in terms of making MEB, vehicle to grid and vehicle to house, workable. I guess we haven't really just got all the connectors and everything.
Yeah, it's really interesting, that whole stuff. I did a program probably 3 years ago now for ITV, and we went and visited a family who had been taking part in trials, and they were actually not paying anything for their home energy, for their electricity, because they were doing it all through charging the car at night, feeding it back, running it during the day. And they maybe paying a couple of £100 over the year, a tiny amount, but it had massively reduced their energy bills. But it was incredible. But what we seem to have struggled with is getting it from trial stage to that big rollout. And, and I remember back then it was like coming, and it was not going to be that far off, a couple of years, but that was at least 3 years ago. We're still not there yet. But when that comes, I agree, that will be a game changer. So anything else? Oh, Tom, yes?
Just on that, there is a video that I did with the Kia EV9 last year about how they're going to introduce vehicle to home, and how they reckon that they've got it to be much cheaper on the charger because they use an AC through the charger there. So they think it will be 2024, 2025, and you'll be able to have it in the home. I mean, I know it's always coming in, it's always going, but that does seem to work, that it will be the same price as a normal home charger, and the Kia EV9 and all future Kia electric cars will have the ability to do that vehicle to home through a charger. That
indeed will be game changing. Anything else in your postbag, Postman Mike?
There's so much, Ginny, but we're already over time, and I'll save it up for the next one. There's loads of stuff, but there is really, really good stuff. But thank you so much for commenting. If you have, please carry on doing so. We try and get through as many as we can. We really love it, so thank you.
Yeah, and we're going to have to recall it rechristen our podcast, aren't we? The Kilowatt Half Hour and a bit.
Yeah,
because we're always running over. Nicola, I will leave it to you to sign us off for the year.
Thank you very much from all of us here at Electrifying for joining us this year. It's been incredible. Thank you for supporting the podcast. Thank you for commenting. And thank you for being amazing. We wish you all a very, very Merry Christmas. Eat all the things, drink all the things. Don't forget to loan out your plug sockets for anyone that comes to visit with an electric car, and have a wonderful time. And we will see you in 2024.
Bye.
Bye.